Hey friends, thanks for tuning in, and just hope that I can be an encouragement to you as you journey with Jesus as the beloved of God. I think at some point, right, every sincere Christian, has a heart to do the right thing. Wants to live in a way that is pleasing to God, that brings glory to Him. And many of us, after we were born again, we found ourselves in religious systems that kind of put a lot of focus on what a good Christian look like, what do good Christians do, and what don't good Christians do. And we may have found ourselves in struggles in our growth and our journey with Jesus, and we'll say things like, well, I'll never do that again, or I'm going to do this. I'm always going to do the right thing. And the problem with that is the focus is us. And whenever the Christian attempts to live the Christian life out of their own sufficiency, in self-sufficiency, it's doomed to failure. That's why legalistic Christianity can have an outward appearance that may look good or better than others, but it's full of dead men's bones. It's full of death. There's no joy. There's no love. And it's all about performing, and then you have to keep so many secrets and wear masks and to pretend. But Jesus intends for us to live in a simple, responsive relationship with Him, remembering that we have not been left to our own resources, and that Christianity isn't primarily about the Christian, but the Christ. And so look at this verse, and I hope it encourages you, because Paul told the Galatians, he says, but I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the thing or the things you want to do. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Well, many years ago, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, over 25 years ago, I was working and helping to establish a Bible college. And one of the tasks that was before me was establishing a student handbook. And I had the idea that the student handbook should just have one line: walk in the Spirit. Of course, the people who were above me, they weren't going to have any of that. They wanted rules and regulations, and plenty of them, to try and deal with all of the potential things that young people might do that would be embarrassing to the college and to the name of the gospel, I guess. But listen, if you live life with a student handbook, if you live life under the law, some form of rules and regulations, it will always have to be updated. Here is the key to the Christian life: walk by the Spirit. Remember who you are, whose you are, that you have been given the very life of God, that He lives in you, and that He desires an intimate relationship with you. He died for you so He could live in you, and living in you, He desires to manifest His life through you. And so all we have to do is just walk in tune with the indwelling presence of God. We don't have to focus on potential pitfalls of sin, or where we might go, or what we might do wrong. He says, walk in the Spirit. Jesus, where are we going? What are we going to do here? What are we going to say? How are we going to give? just in an intimate relationship with our Creator. And when we walk by the Spirit from the indwelling presence of God, we will not gratify the desires of the flesh. The flesh, this Greek word here, it comes from the Greek sarx, which I think is best described as self-sufficiency. When we were sinners, we had a fallen, sinful nature, and it taught us and trained us to operate in self-sufficiency. And so we, like all sinners at the time, we did whatever we felt like. We followed our desires and our passions. But he says, when you're born again, you become a new creature with a new heart. The old man is crucified in Christ, but the flesh is still there, and it wars against the Spirit. So if we focus on the flesh, we're still focused in self-sufficiency. And so Paul tells the Galatians, don't go back to legalism. Don't go back to rule keeping. Don't go back to the treadmill of performing. He says, remember who you are, whose you are. He goes, because if you will walk by the Spirit, you don't have to worry about the desires of the flesh. Yeah, the desires of the flesh, they war against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. He goes, but because you have a new heart, you have new desires. You'll never get to the place where you're not tempted, but you don't have to live as a victim to temptation. You choose to walk in the Spirit because he's giving you a whole set of new things that you want to do. And he said, but if you are led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. And I think that'd be better translated since, because friends, you are led by the Spirit if you'll just listen and hear. And then you don't need the law or a rule book or a set of standards or guidelines or a student manual for good Christians. You just need to hear the voice of God, and he lives in you. And he, my friends, will live through you as you yield yourself to his indwelling presence. That is your birthright in Christ. So, walk by the Spirit. He lives in you. Surrender. Lord, what do you want to do? What do you want to say? Where do you want to go? How do you want to spend? What do you want to give? All right, Lord, let's go. A vessel of his love and life. That's you. Hey, I love you. Have a great day.